Hi again, guys. So, decided I'll talk about for this one DPS meters. Now, there's lots of add-ons that you can download that are DPS meters. As I said in a couple or another recording, was Gadget has a couple meters themselves. DPS encounter and DPS live. Live being the 10-second parse, and encounter being the whole encounter from when somebody in your party's in combat. It's just a quick little one. I'll just create a couple new ones here to show. That was the encounter. This one's the live. Let's move them down. So there's the live DPS. There's the encounter DPS. Go and move over to the um, dummies at the moment. As you can see here, I have a window here as well. This is ACT. It always shows the last encounter is at. Different meters have different functionalities. Some are a little bit finicky for pasting information to chat and stuff for guild or raid to see what their DPS were. If people aren't running a DPS meter and are curious, you can sometimes link them. Or you could just tell them. Some have the functionality of posting to your or saving to your clipboard, so you can just paste with the Control V. Others you have to click on to export it, then you can to the clipboard, and from the clipboard you can paste it into chat. So there's different functionalities with different DPS meters. There's Super Meter, there's Rift Meter, there's all sort of different add-ons ones. Whichever one you feel most useful, of course, could work. I myself like ACT. ACT is an outside combat tracker. And what it does is you have to set it up to read the combat log, which means that you need to turn on combat logging in the thing. There is a way to permanently turn on combat logging with modifying one of the Rift files. So that way when you log into the game, you do not have to do /combat log to turn on the combat log. As you can see here, there's a few different, from my last time loaded up, ACT, different encounters here. With ACT, I can go in and see what I did. I'll get into this in a little bit. Right now, I'll just show you. Mini parse, I have it always on top, but sometimes with tab target and it messes it up. So if you watch the DPS meters, I'll go into some rotations here. My normal rotation starting, and just building up some damage. We'll see what the different ones have. So just do a little, probably a minute parse here. That's probably be good enough. Oh, I'm at 30 seconds here. We'll just wait a little bit longer before I end combat. So as you can see, my encounter DPS and my live DPS are different. What that just meaning is encounter DPS is the average of my bursts and my sustained. Where live DPS is showing the last 10 seconds. So with your more sustained and your not burst one, it's giving you more accurate idea of what you just pulled recently. Running away to break combat here. So as you can see, at the end of it, live DPS keeps on going. So it read down to 0, kept on dropping down. Counter DPS, this one, whatever it's set up to, it ends at a certain time when after your last combat action sometimes. So as you can see, there's a couple different discrepancies. I broke combat from ACT at a minute 14, and it's showing I ended at a 47k 342, which is just a little off from the Gadget one showing a 46,940. Main reason for this is depending on when it read where my combat started, if the tank pulled first and you started attacking a couple seconds after, that sometimes affects encounter DPS as well as the end time. This one might have ended combat after 5 seconds of no combat, or when I was out of that combat range, where this one could have been 3 seconds. So obviously, when a boss dies and there's nothing else to DPS, that will be your full encounter on that boss, where some meters tick for a couple more seconds, and so it shows your DPS is a little bit lower than what it was for the encounter when the boss died. This is another reason why I love ACT, is because of all the different settings in it, where you can set things to how you like it for when combat ends or starts. Um, Different meters, as I said, have different functionalities. So if I go into gadgets, let's see. In combat opacity, out of combat, visible. There's not much functionality with that one. I don't even think that I could even export that to clipboard and paste it to guild, where I have it automatically set where my ACT board exports to clipboard so I can paste it if somebody asks. So I'm just going to delete those ones right now, the live and that other one, reload my UI because it's asking me to from deleting. And I'm just going to kind of show you with the last parse here. If I was in a raid, you'd see a lot of different names here, even the enemies at times. As I said, raid boss practice dummy. Gives you a little bit of information here. If you go into it, you get these lot more breakdown. You can read incoming damage. So yeah, it took 18% damage from Bolt of Depravity, 13% of the damage it took was Bolt of Retribution, 12% Scourge. Gives a nice little pie chart here. Here it can show the average, medians, min hit, max hit, all sorts of different things, the type of resist it was, damage that it took, all sorts of different information. Obviously, clicking on an enemy shows all the friendlies that would attack it. Obviously, with the dummy parts, it's just showing me since I'm the only one it's reading. So I just click on myself here. Here's a little graphic of what the breakdown was, well, of my DPS. So at 0 seconds, since I started off with a debuff, I didn't really have any damage. And then I started with my dots, so my DPS increases as the dots kept ticking and I applied more dots. And then I started getting into my actual rotation, and you can see that I'm jumping up. And if I hover over, you see a little tooltip at the plus 25, 10-second average, it said. Outgoing damage, I was peaked up to a 70.9k. As well, I healed 0 out. I tagged a 76.903 out for that 1 second. At that 25 second, that means my dots ticking and any damage spell I was doing at that time that hit equated to that much damage. And as well, you can see peaks and plateaus, and I fall down and all that sort of stuff. So there's my first burst rotation, and then as I sustain or crit, I peak up and down. I can go to my attack breakdown, of course, see what my abilities, which one did the most type of damage. So Bolt of Depravity, if I click here, I had 14 hits, it says. So 14 hits equated to 18% of the damage I did. Where my Bolt of Retributions, I also did 14, did 13%. Sometimes with this you need to watch out because Dark Water is an ability that I used. I applied it 8 times. Dark Water, as you can see down here, was 4%. Dark Water does another effect though. It has, when it hits, it applies a debuff, a dot, that is called Darkness. Now the dot itself stacks up to 3 stacks, and so Darkness itself did 8% of my damage. So together with applying that did 12% of the damage I did. It's really nice to see a little breakdown, different things. You can even go more into it, like Bolt of Depravity, little bar showing what times I hit it at, what seconds, how much damage it did, if it was a crit. If it was a crit, it says true. If it wasn't a crit, it says false, of course. Ones and zeros, kind of computer language, true or false. And so, yeah, so non-crit I hit with the Bolt of Depravity for 30k. With a crit I hit at 51k, at 54.8k. So just gives you a little bit breakdown of even all your abilities. Excuse me about that. Bolt of Judgment, I only really casted one. And so it didn't crit. I did almost 16k damage. Mainly used Bolt of Retribution with my spam stuff. Crits, breakdowns. As I said, it gives a nice little thing. If you're a healer, it even tells you you're healed out. If you took some incoming damage, you could click on incoming damage, all that sort of stuff. So this is just under the main tab. Obviously, of course, there's options to configure. Output display, like the graphing, what things you want it to show on the graphing, which just means on here, I have outgoing heal, pet attack, healed, and outgoing damage all as bars to show. Obviously, in this spec, I was just damaging, so it just shows that bar, where you see these other blue bars down here are just flatlined because I didn't do any healing or outgoing heals. As well, if you had a pet, you normally see normally pets may even do maybe at most 25% of the damage. So you'd see this other bar probably about just at the 20, like a quarter of the height of your damage bar graph line showing what the pet did. And then with how I set it up, there'd be a graph of my damage, and then there'd be like another bar showing the combined damage. So it does a really nice breakdown of all sorts of things. And like I have it to merge all pet data to owner and remove pet from listings. That's just with, doesn't show it, you'd have to go into your own self and see what your pet did. There's lots of different settings. If you want to use ACT, let me know. I could help you set it up. Some things I kind of forget because I originally set it up 4 years ago and haven't changed any settings since. I'm sure we can figure it out together if you want to use it. And yeah, there's a lot of different things, import, export stuff. Under my options, I believe, I have it set, like, if I wanted to link an older encounter, I could click here, export to clipboard, or I have it set up where I can export the HPS, the DPS, and the HPS, or just the DPS. The most current encounter gets updated a couple seconds after combat ended, and then it will export it to clipboard automatically of just the DPS, which then I could post into raid chat or guild chat or whatever I need to. But if I want to post the heals per second, I have to tab out, click on the encounter, and export custom to clipboard. Lots of different ways to set things up, as I said. Really nice thing, as I said, it reads the combat meter, so anything that shows up in your combat meter shows up in ACT. There is a little bit of an issue with fight in EE with Regulos. People being on different platforms, they were too far away that their damage on the other mini-boss didn't show up in my combat log, so the overall fight damage was different. I think most meters have issues with that anyways. If things are too far apart, they don't read. So no meter is perfect is pretty much what I'm saying. Pretty much it just gives you a rough guess. If you really want to get that, into the breakdown of things and really go over your spec and rotation, I really do suggest ACT. I believe it's the only thing that provides that much information for you to really pick over. I know with a couple other add-on meters that are in-game, have some breakdown analysis, where it might just show you the amount of damage that is you did, maybe an average, and how much percentage-wise it was of your total damage. But it doesn't really go into a lot of stuff where, as you saw with ACT, I can actually see like what my Bolt of Retributions were critting for if I wanted to do that. Like I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 crits, 3 in a row, 2 in a row, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that didn't, in between the 2 and 3 one, and another 4 that didn't crit. So, like as I said, it really gives that breakdown. If I wanted to really compare it, like my spell crit is, for my window, it says 22.69. That's just my rating. With my buffs in this spec, I get another 5% critical hit chance from that buff and another 5% from that buff. So I'm actually sitting at a 32.69% crit chance. So I should be critting about every third ability overall. So it really is an interesting program to use, and I find it to be the most accurate DPS meter. Um, and I didn't include it with the add-ons because technically it's an outside program. So just let me know if you want some stuff. As well, with certain raids I could go over. If you want me to, like, I can save it. I can save a file so that way I can review it later. Otherwise, when I keep on just playing, eventually they delete the older encounters so that way it doesn't eat up a lot of usage in RAM, of course. So, hope this was informative. Hope it gave you a little bit to think of. And like, as I said, if you really want to get into your specs, how it breakdowns, what you're doing wrong sometimes compared to somebody else, two people with the same specs could be doing almost the same rotation, but be off by quite a bit of DPS. Their gear could be the same, and maybe it's just looking at the breakdown between those two people to see how their rotation is differing, and then that person can adjust theirs to get higher DPS. Um, as I said, it's a really good tool for analyzing that sort of stuff as well, not just to show you what everybody's DPS is with that last poll. So hope you guys enjoyed this little recording, and I'll be doing different recordings of many different things that come. Take care.